morning. My name is Richard Wexler, and this is Caring in America, the podcast for caregivers and care recipients. We have a special guest this morning, Mike Briggs. I'm going to introduce him via his bio and then bring him on live. Mike was born and raised in Boise, Idaho, where he developed a deep love for this vibrant community. He attended Meridian High School and following that attended Boise State University and has a Bachelor of Science in Athletic Training. He began his career in home health and hospice 20 years ago. He joined Keystone Hospice about 7 years ago, and he is deeply passionate about hospice care, especially for residents of the Treasure Valley in the Boise area. Keystone Hospice stands out as the best company Mike has ever worked for, and he plans to retire with them someday. He's been married for 30 years. He's a man of deep faith, and he and his wife have 4 children. Mike has coached high school wrestling at his alma mater high school, and what's quite amazing, they've won 4 straight state titles. Mike is also a lover of the outdoors. And with that, I want to say hello to Mike. Are you there, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Richard. I appreciate the introduction. I know I'm not trying to brag on myself, but I love listening to you tell my story. It's kind of funny. It's kind of like when we've done a live memorial for a gentleman that had cancer, and we had all his buddies fly in from California. He was a fireman that had a glioblastoma, and listening to all those firemen brag on their buddy that was going to die within a couple months, it was so special to hear what they were saying about him. And typically when you die, you never hear your eulogy. You never hear people talk great things about you unless, well, we don't know because we're not dead. So we can't say, well, in spirit we're here, which we probably are, but we can't say for certain because we just haven't been there yet. But it was such a special moment to be a part of that and to honor that client with a live memorial. It's something that I want to do more often for our hospice patients because I think it can be very meaningful for the family and for the person that's going to pass away soon. So thank you for saying all those nice things about me. And yeah,
No,
ready to do this.
no problem. We're going to talk about a tough subject, hospice. Obviously, throughout this podcast, we've talked a little bit about that. We've talked about end of life. I mean, the last time I checked, at some point, we all go. I've talked about this before. I'm not sure if I've ever told you this, but I had a client that died in 2016 in California, and he died at that ripe old age of 117. And he was doing,
Whoa.
he was doing well till about 115. So, I mean, it with
Wow.
medicine and medication and the medical practice is changing. People are living, and you know that's better than I, people are living long, productive lives. It was amazing. I watched the D-Day ceremonies last week in France, and there were people there, quite a few in their late 90s into their early 100s, these gentlemen that had fought the war, landed on the beaches, and somehow made it through. But at some point, and for some of us earlier, for hopefully for some of us later, things happen. So why is hospice such a vital part of healthcare?
Well, I'm glad you asked. One thing, though, that sparked another story in your little dissertation there is that we're veteran owned. And so last Wednesday at our all staff meeting, our owner, who served in the Army for 16 years, he showed the first 9 minutes of Saving Private Ryan to all of the team. And he said, "This is what motivates me to get up every day. If those guys had a hard day. What I consider a hard day is not even close to that day right there when they stormed the beaches." He said that day, the predictions was we would lose 100% of all them men that landed on the beach in that first wave. Fortunately for America and the Allies, the first wave didn't lose everybody. So it's amazing. If you see a World War II vet, thank him for his service. If you see a Vietnam veteran, tell him welcome home. And if you see any other veterans from Korea or Desert Storm, just thank them for their service. But I learned about a month ago at a Vietnam Veterans Appreciation Day here locally, don't ever tell a Vietnam veteran thank you for your service, because some of them had to go without their choice. So welcome home is what they want to hear from us. So hospice. I had no idea what hospice was 20 years ago before I got into the industry. I kind of knew, but I didn't really know. My grandfather died 26 years ago, and he had hospice. So I kind of knew a little bit about it, but I didn't really know what I know today. And hospice, I want everyone to hear this loud and clear. Hospice is truly about living the best you can until you take your last breath. It's all about quality of life, not quality of death. People, all they think about when they hear hospice is they think about, well, I'm going to die in a day. I'm going to die today. I'm going to die in 2 weeks. I'm going to die in a month. Well, let me tell you, hospice is such a vital aspect of the healthcare continuum that when people get diagnosed with a terminal illness, so some doctor has said, you have less than 6 months to live, you qualify for hospice. Hospice is paid for 100% by Medicare. Most commercial insurances pay for it. And we even do pro bono patients at our facility here. And Keystone Hospice is not a facility. It's a group of individuals that travel all over the Treasure Valley that provide care in the home of the patient. Now, their home could be an assisted living, it could be a nursing home, or it could literally be the home they lived in for 60 years. Most people want to die in their surroundings. They don't want to go somewhere else like a nursing home or an assisted living unless they have to. So the great thing about hospice is that we cater to the needs of our patients. And truly, it's about living the best you can. So we want our folks to enjoy life each day the best they can. So as we draw nearer to the end of our life, we might not be able to get into a wheelchair anymore. We may be bed bound. So if that's the best we can do that day, well, that's the best we can do. So that's what it's really about. It's comfort care. It's not curative care. It's palliative care. Palliative care is comfort care. So hospice is so special because we get to be the experts on living the best you can until you pass. So I always tell families and loved ones when I meet with them, I tell them, we're all born here and we all die here on this planet, okay? When we're born here, we have doctors, nurses, CNAs. We have professionals welcoming us here on earth. It could be a birthing doula. It could be even at home and you have somebody that's a midwife that's there, but they're a professional. Why wouldn't you want that when you're going to exit this planet? Why would you not want nurses, CNAs, chaplains, social workers, complementary alternative medicines like massage, acupuncture, Reiki, music therapy? Why wouldn't you want those when you're saying goodbye to your loved ones? when you're comfortable, why wouldn't you want to do that? So that's why hospice is such a vital part of the healthcare continuum. We all live, we all die. And like Richard said earlier, we're all going to leave this planet. We can't live forever. And so last time I checked, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. We all get to go to heaven if you believe in Jesus. We all get to move on somewhere else after this life. So I'm very passionate about informing and educating everybody about hospice.
That's fantastic information, Mike. And I'm also glad you talked about some of the fallacies, and we'll probably talk more about that. I mean, people, first of all, ooh, hospice. Second of all,
Yep.
I got to move dad to some building someplace. Not true. There are buildings in different parts of the country that do have hospice within that building. But as you said, and
Yep.
correct me if I'm wrong, in a hospital, in skilled nursing, at home, whether it's your home, your son's home, whatever it may be, in the comfort of that location. So we can make, as you said, the last 6 months or so of someone's life as comfortable as we possibly can. Correct me if I'm wrong too, and there's some research that I've done. I believe hospice is about 1,000 years old. Do you know if I'm right with that statement?
Yeah, but here in America, it didn't get approved by Medicare to pay for it until in the 70s. So here in America, it didn't really get going until later on. But there are, um, the first hospices and things like that. Yeah, the way that we see hospice now is totally different than 1,000 years ago.
Sure.
Back in the day, most people just took care of their loved one until they passed away in their home. It was the mom. It was the kids of the parents that would care for their loved one until they passed. So now, like you said earlier, it can be anywhere. It can be in a hospital. It can be in the home. It can be in an assisted living. It can be in a nursing home. It can be in a certified family home. It can be in a foster home. It can be in your family's home. My father-in-law got COVID, that lovely word that we like to talk about every day. He got COVID in November of 2020. No, sorry. Let me back up. 2023. And he was told he's going to die. He had COVID, he had multiple myeloma, and he had zero function of his kidneys. So he was doing dialysis prior to his hospital stay. Well, his sister, who is a huge advocate for her brother, said, let's get you home. Let's get you out of this hospital so you can see your family. So we brought him to my house because our hospice agency doesn't go to his city. So he came to my home and I provided the personal cares for the first 48 hours because he couldn't do it. He couldn't wipe his bum. And so I was there to help him do that. Yes, that is part of this lovely thing that we call life. We have bowel movements and we void. And so somebody's got to be there to clean you up if you can't do it yourself. So fortunately for us, he came home on a Monday. Tuesday night, my hospice nurse said he's going to die tonight. Wednesday morning, we woke up expecting him to have passed. And today, he's still alive.
Wow.
So hospice doesn't mean you're going to die today. It doesn't mean you're going to die tomorrow, even though the nurse may think you are. It may mean that you're not going to die in the next 6 months. It may mean that you may not die in the next 2.5 years. So hospice is not a death sentence, everyone. Please hear me loud and clear. Hospice is a type of care that is meant for people that have a terminal illness and have less than 6 months to live. So I'm answering a question that I know you were going to ask me, Richard, but that's the answer. Everyone has access to hospice. We took care of a baby that was born 4 years ago. He was born. They told the parents that he would die within a month. He lived for 4 years. He was on our hospice for a year, and we discharged him. His parents got to celebrate 4 birthdays with him because of the care that we provided and because he wanted to be a testimony to his parents, and because hospice is such a meaningful thing that can add days to your life. The National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization, they did a study years ago, and they took 2 people with the same diagnosis. One person had hospice and the other person didn't. The person that had hospice lived 29 days longer than the person that did not have hospice. So if you were at the end of your days, would you want more days to spend with your family, your loved ones, before you pass? Some of you probably say no because you just don't have a relationship with your family. Some of you would say yes to friends and family. So when my father-in-law came home, he showed us how to die well. He had everyone come over and he asked for forgiveness from every single one of them. And he forgave them for anything that he may have held against them. So my son has probably 30 tattoos on him. And my father-in-law said, I forgive you for having all those tattoos. Please forgive me for judging you for having those tattoos. And I love you, Corbin. I love you, Corbin. And my son got to say, Grandpa, I forgive you. And I love you too. And he got to hug him. My son was the last person to show up that my father-in-law wanted to say those things to before he passed. We honored those wishes by getting everybody in the house. We probably had over 150 visitors in 2 days. We had family over that were feeding us, that were taking care of me and my family, and also my loving father and mother-in-law. I'm so fortunate to have hospice, to have the resources that I have, to have the knowledge that I have. So when I'm telling people about hospice, I'm truly educating them and trying to change their mindset on what hospice is all about. And typically I can do that because of the passion that I show and share in my inflection and the facial expressions that I use. So, Richard, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. That's an amazing story. I learned years ago that there is a thing where you can graduate from hospice. And there have been many stories where people have actually started doing better under hospice care. Maybe, and you know this better than I, maybe stopped a lot of the medications they're currently on. So
Yep.
I mean, graduate from high school, graduate from college, graduate from hospice, as you say, have more days in your life to have a fantastic story like you just talked about. Some of the other myths that, and you mentioned this early in our conversation, Medicare pays for this. Medicare doesn't pay for much of anything when you get sick. Yeah, the hospitalization time in a skilled nursing facility, but people always ask, well, mom's been on Medicare for 20 years, so that's going to pay for her long-term care. No, but from a hospice perspective, yes. And that's a very good thing. I mean, what other myths are out there that you know about and would like to tell people it may be different or they don't exist?
Well, the first one, I've already mentioned it, right? That it's a death sentence. Hospice is not a death sentence. Hospice is a type of care, right? We have care in assisted livings. We have care in nursing homes. We have care in hospitals. Hospice is just another type of care. When you deserve it, when you need it, you're going to want it. When people go on to hospice, here's another myth. People think that every hospice in the Treasure Valley is linked together. The only thing that links us together is that the word hospice is in the name of our company. That's it. We all get paid the same in the Treasure Valley. And in your neck of the woods, wherever you live, your hospice agencies that are in your area all get paid the very same, no matter what. Medicare sets the payment that we get for every county in the United States of America. Okay? So what we do with those funds that we get paid from Medicare, we spend those differently than the other hospices in the Treasure Valley because we have a veteran service coordinator. They're the only two in the United States that we're aware of right now that we employed, two Marines that go out and honor our veterans when they pass away. They go and honor them before they pass away. They thank them for their service. They give them a plaque, or not a plaque, but they honor them with a pin, United States flag, and a certificate. So not every hospice has that. Well, our agency, because we're veteran owned, we want to focus on something different. We want to raise the level of hospice care in the Treasure Valley. We want hospice care to be amazing for every human being. Doesn't matter if you're on Keystone Hospice, First Choice Hospice, Ancora Hospice, Horizon Home Health and Hospice. It doesn't matter what hospice you're on. We want you to have a very, very good experience with it in a very difficult time. And another myth that really drives me crazy, and I've already mentioned this as well, is people think that it's a death sentence. And I just did say that. I'm sorry for being redundant, but I want it to get through everybody's head that you doesn't mean you're going to die right now or tomorrow or the next day. We had a veteran came on our services in October. He was told he was going to die by the end of November. He was on our services for 2.5 years. And we got to celebrate 2 anniversaries with him, and we got to celebrate 2 birthdays with him. So you can't tell me that hospice is a negative thing. It isn't our mindset if we don't have our mindset right. But once you're educated about hospice, you can make an informed decision on if it's the right thing. Maybe it's not the right thing for you right now. Maybe you want to still continue to do chemo and dialysis and you want to live with a ventilator. That's fine. That's totally fine. But once you decide that you're done with chemo, you're done with your treatment, you're done fighting the battle of staying alive, and you only want comfort care, that's when hospice is available to anyone. It doesn't matter if you're a baby or if you're 117 like your buddy in California. It does not matter. Everyone has access to hospice that lives in the United States of America.
That's amazing information. In the few minutes we have left, I want to talk about the process of getting hospice started. You're in the hospital with mom or dad. You can see they're not doing well. Is this a conversation you normally start with the doctor? Or is this a conversation the doctor normally starts with the family? If you can answer that in a second. And then I'm assuming, tough word, correct me if I'm wrong, does a prescription have to be written to get mom or dad into hospice care? If you can answer those questions, Mike.
Absolutely. So it's real simple. Once a doctor writes an order, they send it to us, but typically they do have the conversation first. So in the hospital, let's say like today, I'm going to St. Al's Regional Medical Center here in Boise at 1:00 to meet with a family in regards to their father. And I'm meeting with him as well. And we're going to explain what hospice is all about, what it truly is, because most people don't really understand it unless they've experienced it. So we go in there, and it's after the palliative care team from the hospital has already spoken to the family. They've already served us a home run pitch by going in and explaining to the loved one that this is how they start the conversation. What's your goal? Do you want to continue to fight this? Do you want to continue to come to the hospital? Do you want to continue to get poked and prodded? Okay, if that's what you want, then we can continue the track we're on. Or you can decide to go on comfort care and have Keystone Hospice or XYZ Hospice come in, meet with you, explain what they do, and then you can make your decision. You can still do you can do curative care, or you can do palliative care. So the doctors really are vital in having that conversation with the families prior to us having that. So once they have that conversation in the hospital or wherever they're at, assisted living, nursing home, typically the primary care physician is going to introduce hospice way before we get involved. Once we get involved, we're there to educate, give them every answer that they need to make an informed decision on what they really, really want. It's really about the patient. It's not about me. It's not about their daughter or son. So last Friday, I went to the hospital and met with the lady. And as we were meeting, the friend that was going to take her into their home was talking about the tube feedings. And he just kept going on. And I said, well, typically hospice doesn't pay for tube feedings. That would be something that you would privately have to pay for. And then the patient said, hey, excuse me, time out. Stop talking. I don't want to do tube feedings anymore. Well, that answered all the questions that they had right then and there. So in all reality, it's all about the patient and their choices. We want them to make a great choice when they choose hospice. And I have a question for you, Richard. If I send you a video from our YouTube channel, would you be able to post that link in our podcast?
I think we should be able to. Please send it to me.
I will.
No, that is fantastic information. I mean, it's been a great conversation, folks in the listening audience. I really hope you understand all the things that Mike is talking about and what a great service hospice truly is. And as he was talking about, and this is the patient's choice, as he said, do you still want the chemo? Do you still want the tubes? Do you still want to function in that situation, or would you rather choose the comfort that he's talking about? Your choice, but a fantastic choice that's out there. And as we get ready to wrap, as we started talking about in the beginning, I mean, it'd be awesome if we never left. We could live in a wonderful state forever, but it's just not happening. So having this knowledge, understanding what a great service Mike and Keystone are doing and what a great service hospice is doing both here in the Boise area and also around the country. If people want to reach out to you, Mike, do you mind giving out some contact information, whether it's an email, website, phone number, whatever you want to give out?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best way to get a hold of me is to call me. My phone number is 208-996-4000. Again, my phone number is 208-996-4000. Another great way to get a hold of me is to call our office at 208-996-8181 and hit option 2, and they will point you in my direction. And then another way to get a hold of me is my email address. It is mbriggs, BRIGGS, at KeystoneHospice.org. That's KeystoneHospice.org. Those are the best ways to get a hold of me. I will have the links sent to you, Richard, so you can post those. And they're just videos of some of the lovely things we get to do for our patients.
Again, this has been a wonderful conversation, Mike. Folks, as I always do, if you want to get in touch with me, have a comment, a question, want to be a guest on the podcast, best email eldered2023 at gmail.com. So once again, I want to thank Mike. Been a fantastic conversation. And folks, until we talk again, have yourself an awesome day.